Excellent. Okay. Evening all. The last few weeks we've been talking about the special tefillot that we have been saying this difficult time. The two special tehillim, Kuf Kaf and Kuf Lam and Aleph. We went through Avinu Malkeinu last week. I want to finish off where we got stuck just before the Chagim, which was in the middle of Shema. If you cast your minds back all that time, it seems an age ago, where we had gone through from Moda'ani in the morning. We'd managed to get as far as the end of Vahaya im Shema, and we're now holding at the third paragraph of the Shema, which is a strange paragraph altogether. We're all very familiar with it. Let's just look at the words. Those of you who've got a Siddur in front of you, turn it to the Shema, and the third paragraph. Vayoma Adonai el Moshe le'mor, and Hashem said to Moshe as follows: Daber el bnei Yisrael, speak to the children of Israel. Ve'amarta alehem, and you shall say to them, Va'asu lahem tzitzit al kamfei bigdehem ledorotam, and they shall make tzitzit, whatever that means, come back to it, al kamfei bigdehem, on the corners of their garments, ledorotam. What does that mean, ledorotam? For the generations, meaning this is a mitzvah forever, for all future generations. Well, first of all, we're going to carry on in the translation, but while I'm doing that, just think about, why does it say L'Dorotam? Doesn't say that for any other mitzvah. Why does it say L'Dorotam about tzitzit? Why doesn't it say, I don't know, you shall not see the kid in its mother's milk, L'Dorotam, or Kabed et avicha v'timecha, L'Dorotam? Why just here with tzitzit? That's the first question I want you to think about.
Is it not to do with the garment they're wearing? There was the tzitzit's garment.
Possibly, Johnny, possibly. Let's come back to it. Let's finish the translation and then we'll come back and look at it in detail.
Okay.
V'natnu al tzitzit, and they shall place on the tzitzit, hakanaf petil techelet, of the corner, petil techelet, a thread of Techelet, whatever that means. We'll come back to that as well. Vahaya lechem letzitzit, and it shall be for you as tzitzit. This is a very strange paragraph, this whole thing. First of all, it says, Daber b'nei Israel, speak to the b'nei Israel, ve'amata alehem, and you shall say to them, okay, va'asu lahem tzitzit. They shall make for themselves tzitzit. That is in the third person. They shall make for themselves. And now, right in the middle, we switch to the second person. Vahaya lachem letzitzit. It shall be for you for tzitzit. Or item oto, and you will see it. We have to know what that it refers to in a minute. Uzchartem et kol mitzvot Adonai, and you will remember all the mitzvot of Hashem. Vasitem otam, and you'll do them. Velo taturu, and you will not stray. Acharei levavachem, after your hearts. V'acharei nechem, and after your eyes. Asher atem zonim achareim, after which you are already straying. How is tzitzit going to stop you from straying after your eyes and your heart? Another question. Leman tizkaru, in order that you will remember. Vasitem, and you will perform. Et kol mitzvotai, all my mitzvot. Vitem kedoshim le'elohechem, and you will be holy to your God. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hoseti etchem mi'eretz Mitzrayim. I am Hashem, your God, who took you out of Mitzrayim, liot lachem le'elohim, for you to be a God. Ani Adonai Elohechem, I am Hashem, your God. And of course, the emet belongs really to the next paragraph. Now, I ask you, let's cast our minds back a second. What was the first two paragraphs of Shema about? Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Declaration of faith. Yeah, declaration of belief in the one God. That was the first paragraph of Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. And then they have V'ahavta and all that stuff, but you shall love Hashem, is all really confirming that first sentence. What about the second paragraph? What's that about? V'haya, and it will be Im Shamoa Tishma'u, if you'll listen to my mitzvot, then you'll get rain in its time and all that stuff that we went through a long time ago. And if you don't, you won't. You'll get something else. What will you get?
Drought.
Punishment, drought, yeah. And the land will not give its produce. So that, if I had to sum that up in one sentence, or 3 words, reward and punishment. That's another fundamental belief in God. You do the mitzvah. Well, yeah, exactly. First of all, you declare your belief in the one God. Then you declare your belief in the concept of schar v'onesh, reward and punishment, that if you keep the mitzvah, things will be good for you. If you don't keep the mitzvah, won't be so good for you. And then along comes the third paragraph of Shema, which I contend to you is, well, what's going on here? You expect something, if you've got 3 paragraphs of a Shema, the Shema is the fundamental prayer. Apart from the Shemona Esrei, the Shema is the fundamental prayer of davening here. And you've only got 3 paragraphs. Are you going to put in about tzitzit? Well, why is that such an important thing that it is the 3rd paragraph?
It's not written. They're not written together.
One second, Johnny. I'll come back to you in a sec. Yes, Jeff.
Is it possible to need a talk, need something to be able to maintain?
Okay, let me just repeat that for everybody listening.
Maybe the first 2 are collective and the last one is personal.
Okay, so first of all, Jeff said, despite the fact that we have these tremendous, lofty ideas of belief in God and reward and punishment, we are human beings and need some kind of prop like tzitzit to remind us, that's what it said, in order to remind you. Yeah, could well be. We'll go into that in some more detail. Solly says the first 2 are national, and the 3rd one is personal. Go on, Yochanan.
Yeah.
No, the first one is personal. The first one is personal.
That it could be something related to Shabbat, because this is coming after Shabbat, and that Shabbat, the Dorotam Britolam, which means it's forever. So maybe.
Okay, so Yochanan is trying to connect the word Ledorotam to Shabbat, where it also says Ledorotam. Ledorotam Britolam. Beini uvein bnei Israel ot hili olam. Between you, between me and bnei Israel, it is an ot, a sign, liolam, forever. And it does use the word ledorotam. So maybe you're right there. Johnny, what did you want to say?
I said the first one is personal. The middle one is national. I'm not sure about this last one. But the first one is definitely personal.
Yes, the first one is personal. It's said in the first person singular. The second one is in the plural. You're right. It's national. And then Johnny has said, well, I don't really know about the 3rd one. And that's the question. That is exactly the question. What is going on here? Philip can't hear. Well, that's nothing new about that, Philip.
They're not written together, though, in the Torah. That's also important.
They're all 3 of them are separate. You're right.
Yeah.
The first 2 are in Sefer Dvarim.
Yeah.
And the 3rd one is from Bamidbar. So let's look at this. Let's look and see, why is it there? We've never really questioned this, have we? We just do it, right? We've said it since the age of 3, right? When we could first speak, what's the first thing we were taught in when we go to kindergarten, Shema Yisrael, and then we don't, we learn and we learn and we learn and we say how many thousands of times, tens of thousands of times have we said the Shema.
Which we are obliged every day.
Okay, I'm going to come back to that. Because that is at the end of the paragraph. Yeah. And let me just say for those that are here, Yochanan mentioned that it's also has included Techelet Mitzrayim, and that's absolutely right. But why did it have to do the whole paragraph of tzitzit and messing about with tzitzit? It could have just said, you go straight from Vahaya im Shemoah to Ani Adonai Elohechem asher tzeti etzchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lechem leElohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. What do you need all the business with tzitzit all about? Good question. Susie says, what about the women? They're not obliged. The women are not obliged with tzitzit. Why? This is a fundamental prayer. There's questions here. Why is tzitzit so attached to the most important prayer that we have? Let's have a look and see what's going on. So,
I just say that I'd like to. I've been looking at it this morning, but tzitzit are mentioned 3 times in that paragraph, whereas Tefilah, which are very, very important, are only mentioned twice in the Shema.
Okay. Johnny said that Tefillin are mentioned twice. They're mentioned once in the first paragraph of Shema. Yeah. You shall bind them on as a sign on your hands, and as totafot is
like a reminder.
Not a totafot. It means a decoration, not a decoration, like a crown, a jewel between your eyes. And then the same in the second paragraph, you have it in the plural. Same idea. So once in the first, once in the second, and tzitzit is mentioned 3 times in the third paragraph. So that's another question we've got. Let's have a look at what tzitzit is. Let's just.
Why do we have to kiss it? We mentioned the zuzah earlier on. We don't go.
No, because it's not there. If you're stood at the door, it would be a good idea. We do kiss our tefillin. Yeah. So I think the kissing the tzitzit. By the way, not everybody kissed the tzitzit. There are opinions that you don't kiss your tzitzits. It's not a universal. I thought it was a universal custom. It's not actually. Yeah. No, it's not a universal custom. The first person that I saw that didn't do it that I thought ought to have done it, right, or was Herzl's son-in-law, Rabbi Shlomo Dov Rosen. Some of you may remember Mickey Rosen, his father, Zichrono Livracha. And Shlomo Dov does not kiss his tzitzit, and it's a particular. I did, yeah. It's his particular minhag. They don't do it. They don't kiss the tzitzit. The Sfardim don't do it.
No, at least I know that they say that on other point they don't do this.
Does he kiss the mezuzah, Johnny? Does he kiss the mezuzah?
Yeah, the Sfardim kiss the mezuzah. They love the mezuzah. Yeah.
No, there's
Sfardim kiss the mezuzah all over.
Rabbi Rosen kissed the mezuzah. If he doesn't, Johnny, if he doesn't kiss the tzitzit, why should he kiss the mezuzah?
Lots of kissing going on in the Sfardim. Okay, right.
Johnny, if he doesn't kiss his tzitzit, why should he kiss the mezuzah?
No, the Sfardim we're talking about. Sfardim.
I know, but you're talking about Rabbi Rosen. I know Rabbi Rosen.
I don't think he kisses the mezuzah either.
There you are. Then that sounds good.
Okay. Chamza.
Yeah, they all do it. Yeah.
Right. Let's carry on. Okay. So tzitzit. What's so special about tzitzit? Why is this so fundamental? Well, let's have a look at what the actual psukim say. You shall say to them, now, somebody who mentioned before about the garments.
I said, Johnny.
Was it you, Johnny? Okay. So, Vigdehem ledorotam. You shall put them on your garments for every generation. Now, what kind of garments were they wearing at that time? They were not wearing Levi jeans and T-shirts.
They wore like a poncho.
Well, I don't know what they were wearing. I mean, Charlton Heston wore a long robe when he was Moshe Rabbeinu, didn't he? He had this long sort of shirt with sandals on, and when we think about what kind of clothing was being worn at that time, clearly they were they were wearing clothing which had four corners. Right? They had four corners.
4 candles.
Not 4 candles, no, 4 corners. Okay, they had 4 corners. So they had, that was the big dehem. That was their garments. Ledorotam means, well, Charlie's now got a t-shirt. You've got 4 corners on your t-shirt. No, he hasn't. Charlie's not got 4 corners on his t-shirt, and neither has anybody else got 4 corners on their t-shirt, unless it's completely split up the middle. Like you can get those tzitzit, which are got 4 corners. Now, so what do you think that Moshe Rabbeinu wore these kind of tzitzit that we've got? These things that we've got here. This undergarment with 4 corners. I don't think so. No, because he wore a robe which had 4 corners, and that's what he put his tzitzit on.
Everybody's got it under his shirt.
Yeah, but your shirt doesn't have 4 corners. Your shirt doesn't have 4 corners. A jilaba, that's what it's called. Yeah. Okay, but your shirt doesn't have 4 corners. So you have to wear a tzitzit if you want to have a 4-cornered garment. Now, what happens if you don't have a 4-cornered garment on? Have you done an Aveira? Like, let's take Charlie, for example. I'm not going to ask him to show us his belly, but let's assume I asked him to lift up his shirt, and there was nothing under there, no tzitzit, just his t-shirt. Has he done anything wrong? I forget the fact that it's nighttime. Let's say it was daytime, right? Let's say it was daytime, because we'll come to nighttime. Avril is shaking her head. Why not, Avril?
Because you only have to wear the tzitzit if you're wearing a 4-cornered garment.
Yeah.
Correct.
If you don't have to wear the 4-cornered garment.
Right. So you don't have to wear a 4-cornered garment. There is no mitzvah to put tzitzit on anything other than a 4-cornered garment. That's why you put it on.
But
now,
it says one blessing for putting it on, and if you don't do that, there's another blessing.
That's a different blessing, because you're wrapping yourself in. That's a talit gadol. We'll come to the talit gadol in a minute. So the point about the tzitzit, and this is a really fundamental point, and I think that this is one of the reasons why it's in the Shema, because it so demonstrates the mindset of the correct mindset of a Jew, and that is this: you are not obliged to wear a 4-cornered garment. If you wear a 4-cornered garment, then you have to put tzitzit on. Now, probably the jilabas that they wore at those time, back in the day, had 4 corners. That's how they were, and so therefore they wore their tzitzit on the bottom of their long robes. Okay. Now, fashions have changed, and most of us now do not wear 4-cornered garments. However, the Torah tells us, V'asula tzitzit al kanfei bigdehem, on the corners of their garments, ledorotam, forever. Now, as we've just explained, if you don't have a 4-cornered garment on, you've done nothing wrong. But if you do put on a 4-cornered garment, then you have to do the mitzvah of tzitzit. So what do we Jews do today when we don't wear a jilaba that has a 4-cornered? What do we do? We especially put on a 4-cornered garment. Some people wear it under their shirt, some people wear it over their shirt, whatever. We have this 4-cornered garment, and we wear it not because it's comfortable. It's not comfortable. It gets in the way. It sticks down here, and you have to keep slapping it up, and it's a pain in the neck. But why do we put it on? It's not because it's a vest. It keeps us warm. It's got holes in it, right? It's no use to anybody as anything. It's not a garment at all, really. It's there for one purpose only, in order that we can put tzitzit on it, and therefore do a mitzvah. So what tzitzit is demonstrating is that the Jew who has declared his faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the first paragraph of the Shema, who has declared his faith in the faithfulness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the second paragraph of the Shema, that if we keep his mitzvot, good things will happen to us, and if we don't, bad things will happen to us. We then come along and we have this opportunity to do this mitzvah, which we take that opportunity. And many religious Jews will not walk 4 amot, 8 foot, less than that, 6 foot, 1.5 foot an amma, so 6 foot, will not walk 6 foot without wearing tzitzit. Is that an obligatory thing? If you don't have tzitzit on, can you not walk for you? Of course you can. I don't wear tzitzit when I go out for a run.
Johnny, 8 amot is 4 meters. An amma is about the length of an arm from the elbow, 50 centimeters.
An amma is 1.5 foot. 4 times 1.5 is 6. 4 times 1.5 is 6. Right, that's muted in. Right, so okay, so you great, isn't it? You don't have to wear tzitzit, but because it says ledorotam, for everyone's generation, for the future generations, it means what we are doing, or we are demonstrating our absolute desire to keep the Torah by wearing tzitzit. You're doing nothing wrong by not wearing tzitzit, but it is a declaration. By wearing tzitzit, which is a useless garment, it's not keeping you warm, it's not keeping you dry, it's not doing anything. And if you ride a bike, you've got to be careful you don't get the thing is caught in the thing. I've done that a few times. Once got it caught in the sucker thing, you know, that sucks up the leaves and everything. Nearly killed me. You got strangled with it. Yes, Charlie.
But not that similar to Tefilah. Tefilah to remind you of Hashem's above you, God's around you. Sits there to remind you to do.
Okay, we're coming to the reminder bit in a second. Charlie said that as far as he could recall, it's a bit like wearing a kippah. It's to remind you. Big difference. A kippah is not a mitzvah from the Torah. Tzitzit, as we've just read, is a mitzvah deoraita. If you wear a 4-cornered garment and you don't put tzitzit on it, then you have done an avera. If you a deoraita avera, a Torah, you have transgressed a Torah law. If you don't wear a kippah, you have not transgressed a Torah law.
It was a slight comparison, but the idea of the tzitzit, as I understood it, was to remind you of all the mitzvah and commandments. But our whole lives are taken up by doing mitzvah and commandments. It's almost impossible not to remember.
Okay, that's a fair point. So let's talk about a few people have mentioned the remembering thing, reminders. It's in the Shema itself. Let's have a look what it says. We'll come back to a little bit more about the Techelet in a minute. And these things will be for you tzitzit, ureitem oto, and you will see it, which is the source of what we said earlier on, that the mitzvah of tzitzit is only during during the day, because the Torah says ureitem oto, and you shall see it. And that's one of the reasons why some people wear it hanging out. We'll come back to that in a sec. But ureitem oto means, thank you very much, sorry. Ureitem oto means that you shall see it. Now that means that you, during the night, when there's no artificial light, you cannot see them. So there is no mitzvah to wear tzitzit at night. So therefore, technically, don't recommend it, but technically, you could go out at night with a 4-cornered garment without tzitzit, and you will have done nothing wrong. Okay, I don't recommend it, but you wouldn't. Now, you would have done nothing wrong. Ureitem oto, and you shall see it. So, as was said, who just said that? David said that. I can't even remember who said what. David said that that's why some people wear their tzitzit hanging out, so that you can see them. And the question is, ureitem oto. uritem oto, which means and
you see it. You see
you
it.
will see it. Who is you?
You.
Yeah.
Person
The
wearing.
wearer. The wearer.
Yeah,
The
you.
wearer of the tzitzit. Right? So when you wear them out, this is an important point. When people wear their tzitzit out, right? Who are they wearing them out for? Who should they be wearing them out for? They should be wearing them out for themselves. They should be wearing them out for themselves so they see them. Unfortunately, a lot of people wear them so that everybody else sees them and says, "Oh, what a frummy you are! What a good, you know." And that is not or item oto. That is not the idea. So there are some people who wear it out. There are others who don't wear them out. But nevertheless, they know they're there, or item oto, and they saw them when they put them on, when you made your bracha in the morning. But the fact is that they are only, it's only a mitzvah to have tzitzit during the day. So I've got a big question. What's my obvious question? How many times a day do we say Shema?
Thrice.
How many times a day do we say Shema? Commanded by
three times, because we say Shema in the Korbanos also.
No,
yeah, how many times do we say it commanded by the Torah?
Twice.
Twice. The one in Korbanos is only in case you don't say the one later on in time. So once in the morning and once at night. Why do you have to say? Why do we not just say the first two paragraphs at night? What's tzitzit got to do with anything at night? It's not relevant. So the answer to that question, of course, is what Yochanan said earlier on. The end of the paragraph says, "Ani Adonai Elohechem asher tzeitti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem leElohim Ani Adonai Elohechem emet." We are, but you'll see in a minute that there is a follow through. Yeah, there is a building up of the thing. So we still say the third paragraph at night because we are commanded to remember Zecher L'Tziat Mitzrayim. We are commanded to recall the Exodus from Egypt. When are we commanded to do that?
On Pesach.
Yeah, that's true. We are, especially on Pesach. That's true. No. Okay, how many times a day have we got to remember? Twice a day. When? Morning and night. Okay, how do you know that you have to keep there? You have to mention and think about Yetziat Mitzrayim both morning and night. Jeff says Seder night. What do we say in Seder night? Ad shedarsha ben Zoma, until Ben Zoma came. I never understood. What does Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says? Ani kaven shivim shana. I'm like a man of 70 years old. V'lo zachiti, and I didn't understand this whole thing. Why you had to say Shema at night? Ad shedarsha ben Zoma, until Ben Zoma. Does this sound familiar to you? It should do. It's in the Seder. It's in the Haggadah. And he expounds and he says, Kol yemei chayecha. It says you have to remember Yetziat Mitzrayim, Kol yemei chayecha, all the days of your life. And what does the Mishnah say? They're quoting a Mishnah here in the Haggadah is quoting a Mishnah. It says, if it had said you have to remember it, yemei chayecha, the days of your life, I would have understood. It would just be at the daytime. But the fact that it says Kol yemei chayecha halelot, that means the night. And we say that every year in Seder, at the Seder, it's in the Haggadah, and that is the source of the halacha of saying the Yetziat Mitzrayim bit night as well as day. So, fair question that Jeff asked. There's two different things here. We've got tzitzit and we've got Yetziat Mitzrayim. Why is Yetziat Mitzrayim? What your question really is? Why is Yetziat Mitzrayim tagged along at the end of tzitzit? Well, let's have a look and see what these tzitzit are all about. So we've said that first of all, that tzitzit is coming along to teach us l'dorotam, that this is a mitzvah which is a flagship mitzvah because we do it even though we don't have to do it. We want to surround ourselves by the mitzvot. We put tzitzit on voluntarily today because we don't wear a four-cornered garment. We go out of our way to wear a four-cornered garment so that we can keep the mitzvah of tzitzit. What does that demonstrate to us? Or, to our Kodesh Baruch Hu, or to ourselves? It demonstrates that we love the mitzvot. We love the fact that we have a mitzvah to do. We love it so much that we're going to do it even though we don't need to do it. Now, that's something different to the Shiluach HaKain nonsense, where people go out of their way to shoo mother birds away to take the eggs, because that's having a negative effect on the birds. Okay, you're going to say to me, well, that's a great thing as well. They want to do the mitzvah of Shiluach HaKain. So I'll say to them, fine, you want to do the mitzvah of divorcing your wife? Why don't you go and divorce your wife? It's a mitzvah to divorce your wife in a certain way, right? If you're going to divorce your wife, you have to write a get. So I'm going to go and divorce my wife just because I want to write a get. Okay, no, that's silly. But what we're saying here is the mitzvah of tzitzit is something that we do to demonstrate that we want to do every possible mitzvah that we can, l'dorotam, even though the clothing that we wear today does not necessitate doing the mitzvah. Now, let's talk about the reminding bit. So it says here, you shall see it, or item oto, you shall see it, meaning the tzitzit. Which bit of the tzitzit, oto, is singular, or item oto, and you shall see it. Tzitzit is there's more than one string, isn't there? How many strings?
We can't have a three-cornered tzitzit. That's what it's saying. Johnny.
You can't have a three-cornered tzitzit.
No, that's why I'm saying you should see it complete, four corners.
So you're saying that it refers to the whole garment, Johnny?
Yes.
Okay, I don't think that's the case. It might be, but I don't think so. I think it's referring to what came immediately before. The thread of Techelet, of this special blue that you can see behind you can't see behind my head, but they can see behind my head because I've got my background on, which says Techelet. Okay, so that color there that you can see behind me is Techelet, sort of turquoisey color. What does it represent, Techelet? It represents the color of
sky,
the color of the sea, which reflects
the sky.
So the idea is not just that it represents the sky, but it represents the fact that there is a reflection as well. Techelet is the color Techelet. There were two special colors back in the day that were the colors of royalty. One was Techelet, which was this blue color, and the other was purple. Who said purple? Purple. What's the Hebrew for purple? Or not the Hebrew for purple?
Segol.
No, that's the modern Hebrew for purple. The purple in the Torah?
Segol, no?
No, that's modern. Segol is modern Hebrew for purple. Go on, you're close there, Avril. I can see it's on the tip of your tongue.
Argamon.
Yes, argamon. Well done.
Argamon. Yeah.
Techelet v'argamon. Yeah. Argamon is like this deep purple color that royal robes were made of. Royal robes were made of Techelet and argamon. What was Techelet, or what is Techelet made from? Snails. Yes. What kind of snails?
The snail.
Sea ones. Yes. What particular sea ones?
Chilazon.
Chilazon is Hebrew for snail. We always thought that it was the chilazon snail, but that's just like saying the snail. Okay, there is a particular chilazon which is the where it comes from. It's escargot is just another word for snail. So this now we've got the snail, which is now getting silly. It is the Trunculus murex. It is called.
You get the blue dye.
Okay, those of you who came with us on the Tiol to the Techelet factory there in wherever it was we went to, in Ma'aleh Adumim, in one of our tiulim, we had a demonstration of how to make this Techelet. Anyway, the Techelet originally came from this snail called the Trunculus murex, which is now been identified, which is found along the Mediterranean coast in the north of Israel, and up in the north there, Rosh Hanikra, around the Lebanon border as well. That is where they go, and they're there in their thousands apparently, or they were. Anyway, it's a very, you know how many, I don't know the exact answer to this question, but it's a lot. It takes thousands and thousands and thousands of snails to dye one garment. It was a very, very expensive thing, this Techelet business, which is why it was the garment of royalty. It was the color of royalty. No point having royalties wearing something that's cheap, is it? You know, the whole point is that the kings and queens wear things that are expensive. The queen and the king wore the crown jewels because they're the most expensive things there are. So Techelet was very expensive. It was this color of royalty. It's the color of the sky. It's the color of the sea, and it's there to remind us of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, and that's where Charlie's point about the kippah comes along, where there is that comparison. It also reminds us that there is a HaKadosh Baruch Hu above us. It's very interesting, isn't it? Because the goyim, for them, it's sign of respect to take your hat off, right? You know, you doff your cap. We put it on. The Pope does wear one. You're right. Not a Techelet one. He wears a white one. Got a white cap.
Is it not to remind you, Johnny, of is it not to also to remind you possibly of the Yam Suf? If it's to remind you of coming out of Israel.
Right. If we're going to say that it reminds us of the sea, it follows on. So that would definitely fit, Johnny. That the Mitzrayim fits with this Techelet color, which is meant to remind us of the sea. So we're going to see it. Uzachartem et kol mitzvot Adonai. Why is when we see the tzitzit, and particularly the Techelet, why are we going to be reminded of all the mitzvot?
The number of knots.
Okay, the number of knots. Go on. How does this work? We've all learned this when we were in kindergarten. Go on. And how does it work? What's the gematria of tzitzit? Well, tzaddik 90. Okay. Yud is 10, that's 100. Sadi, that's another 90, 190. Taf, that is 400, 590, right? If you put another Yud in it to make it tzitzit, then you've got 600. Now, what have we got to get to? We've got to get to 613, haven't we? Okay, how are we going to get to 613? 8 tassels, right? 8 strings, 608. 5 knots, 613. Bit of a drain, no? Yeah? Okay, it works. You can make it work if you want. You can make it work. I have to say, it doesn't do it for me. I think it's contrived. But the important thing about the tzitzit or itamuto, what do you do with your tzitzit? What is the mitzvah of tzitzit? Is to wear it on the 4 corners of the garment. But what do we? I promised you we'd come back to this. What do we do with the talit gadol, the big talit in the morning? What's the bracha that we make? And what do? We wrap ourselves round. That's what the word lehit atef. Okay, we're familiar with the word atef now at the moment, aren't we? Aleph, ayin, tet, pei. Where do we see that all the time at the moment?
The border.
The Gaza envelope, right? What's an envelope in Hebrew? Matifah. What does an envelope do? What does an envelope do? It envelops you. It envelops the letter that you're putting in. That's why it's called an envelope, okay? Because it envelops. And what do you do with your talit? You wrap it around you, and you are enveloped in the tzitzit. You are wrapped around with this talit, What is the essence of the talit? It's not the garment. The essence of the garment is the tzitzit, right? The four corners. So when you do your mitzvah of lehitatef of tzitzit in the morning, you are symbolically wrapping yourself in the tzitzit. Now, if you go along with your 613 with the knots and the strings and everything, you've got a beautiful idea there, right? You're wrapping yourself in the morning with your talit. You're enveloping yourself with the whole of the Torah. So uzachartem or item, so you'll see it. Uzachartem it kol mitzvot, and you will remember all the mitzvot of Hashem because you've wrapped this mitzvah around you. So the talit katan, the small talit, the tzitzit that you wear under your shirt or over your shirt, is the idea of that is that you're doing it purely for the love of the mitzvah, not for any other reason. You're doing it not because you have to, because if you don't have a four-cornered garment, don't have to put it on. You're doing it because you want to do it. You're demonstrating the practical application of what you've learned in the first and second paragraph. First paragraph said, I believe in God. Second paragraph said, I believe that if I keep the mitzvot, things are going to be good, and if I don't, they won't. And the third paragraph gives you an opportunity. It's the symbolic performance, if you like, of all the mitzvot in one go. It's only the symbolic performance. You can't just say, okay, well, I've done my tzitzit, I don't have to do the rest of them. But that's the implication here. You shall remember all the mitzvot because you've wrapped yourself around with these tzitzit. Now, the Techelet is very important. Why did I call the organization that I started off with, Ravi, though, Techelet? Why did I choose Techelet? Because I like the color? No. Because for me, Techelet today, I do like the color, as it so happens. It would be Man City, yeah, but we're not going there. Apart from liking the color, Techelet today represents something very, very special.
Inspiration.
We said before that Techelet was made from this snail, the chilazon snail, okay, the Trunculus murex, right, which was used until and was around until about 600 of the current era. And somehow or other, due to the Byzantine dyers taking over the Jewish dyers, I mean, D-Y-E-R-S, right? Not Hitler's dyers, right? The dyers. Dyeing was a very Jewish profession back in the day. It was a very honorable profession. It was a very skilled thing to do these things. When they, at the time of the Byzantine Church, the Jews were forbidden to be dyers. It was some kind of religious thing. They weren't allowed to do it. It was forbidden. And over a period of time, the skill and the knowledge and the whole how it was done was lost. And so therefore they did not have Techelet. So for let's say from 600, it may have not been, but it was around there. Let's say 600 for the sake of this discussion. They did not have the ability to fulfill the mitzvah that we speak about twice a day, and that is the fundamental mitzvah that we're talking about tonight of tzitzit. So what did they do? What did everybody do, us included? We wore our tzitzit white because we didn't have blue. We didn't have the Techelet. We didn't know what it was. We didn't know how to make it. So you could argue that until the mid to late 20th century, from that time until the mid to late 20th century, nobody fulfilled the mitzvah of tzitzit correctly, as it is said in the Torah. You shall put on your tzitzit a thread of blue, of Techelet. And did they, did we, did I, did you? No. Why not? Because we couldn't. We didn't know how to do it. Had we known how to do it, we would have done it. So for 1400 years, we didn't know how to do this, and we were not able to do the mitzvah properly. Science came along and was able to break down the biochemistry and the whole caboodle with the dyes. If you're interested in it, you can go online and look up the Techelet Institute here in Israel, which has done all the work over there in the mid to late 20th century, and they have now established to the confidence level of around 98%. They have identified the structure of the dye from the chilazon, from the trunculus murex. And they have now produced the color Techelet, which is what is here on my tzitzit here. That Techelet. Where is it? There we go. You can see it there. It does retain the color, yes. So, yes, it has to be hand washed, so you need to, be careful. So, this here is a mitzvah which I am privileged to do, which my father couldn't do. Well, he could have done, but he didn't know about it. At the end of his life, he could have done it because it was available, but we didn't know it. My grandfather certainly couldn't have done, and neither could any generation going back 1400 years. How amazing is it that we can now do a mitzvah properly that nobody was able to do for 15 years? I find that absolutely amazing. And what's amazing is that the shiluv, what's the word for how do you say shiluv? The combination, it's exactly what we were talking about in the Pirkei Avot Shiur a couple of weeks ago. The combination of Torah im Mada, the Torah im Derech Eretz, the Torah and the knowledge of the world, modern science and the Torah have come together in our generation to allow us to fulfill this mitzvah, which our ancestors could not do for 1500 years. And to me, Techelet represents the most inspiring culmination of Torah and Derech Eretz together, of this idea of the combination of modernity and authenticity. We are now able to fulfill the mitzvah of Techelet, which we couldn't do before, in an authentic way, which we couldn't do before, purely because of modern science and the clever people who have applied modern science to something really positive so that we can do a mitzvah. How many people in history have used their abilities in modern science for negative things? Do you know how the Nobel Prize came around about? Yeah. Alfred Nobel made his fortune by discovering or inventing dynamite, which of course was used in terrible things.
Are you actually saying then that if we don't have Techelet now, we're not? We've got these.
Okay, so Jonathan has asked me, am I saying that if we don't have Techelet on our tzitzis, we are not doing the mitzvah? I personally am saying that you are not doing the mitzvah properly. Yes. Now that is my opinion. There are other opinions who will say that is not the case, and they will give you their reasons for it. As far as I am concerned, if the rabbis who I hold in high esteem tell me that there is a 98% chance, at least 98% chance, that this is Techelet, then why? No, nothing's 100%, Yochanan. No. Your kashrut that you eat is not 100%. There's no such thing. No such thing as 100%, right? No such thing as 100%. Okay. So if the rabbis whom I hold in high esteem tell me that this is 98% at least the Techelet, why would I not do it? The Torah says put on Techelet. So I put on Techelet. So if you're asking me, Jonathan, my own personal opinion, I do not let me put it this way. I do not understand those people who don't wear Techelet. There are some people who won't wear Techelet, and they have their reasons for it. And they say that because it's lost the Masorah, has been lost, the tradition has been lost. I'm not buying that at all, actually, because the only reason it was lost was because we couldn't. It wasn't that the rabbis came along and said, you know what, we've got Techelet, but we're not going to use it. They didn't use Techelet because they didn't have it. We're now fortunate to have it. It's a bit like, Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, if you like. You can say the same thing about Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. Am I saying that if you don't live in Eretz Yisrael, you're not fulfilling the mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael? Yes, I am, because there is a mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. Well, it certainly is, yeah. So you're asking me for my opinion. In my opinion, everybody should wear Techelet.
Would you hold that you shouldn't make a bracha then, Johnny?
Sorry?
Would you hold that you shouldn't make a bracha if you haven't got Techelet?
No, because there are opinions that say it's fine, and certainly, there are precedent for saying a bracha on white tzitzit because we've done it for 1,500 years. So I'm not saying you shouldn't say a bracha. No, you should. If you wear ordinary non-Techelet tzitzit, you should still say a bracha because that's the halacha. But if you're asking me, should you wear Techelet? I think you should, because for me, and that's why I called the organization Techelet, because to me, it represents an opportunity to do something that we haven't been able to do for centuries. And it represents something that is the beauty of modern science and religion coming together and bringing us back to authentic Judaism. For me, Techelet is a tremendous symbol of the renewal of authentic Judaism. So that's why I called it Techelet. Yes, Solly.
Is there a connection between the Israeli flag, blue and white?
Yes, of course there is. Absolutely. Yes, blue is the color of the Jew. Techelet. Absolutely. The Israeli flag is blue because of Techelet. No question about it. Yes, Jeff. Well, that's one of the objections that some people say, that it's not actually taken from the trunculus murex. We don't go and get trunculus murexes, or whatever the plural of that is. Trunculi, I don't know, whatever it is. We don't go and get snails. It's a synthetic copy, and that's one of the objections to it. But it is well, you'll understand this better than most. The formula, the makeup of the dye, the structure of the dye is 98% certain to be the one from the trunculus murex.
The two stripes on the flag in blue are supposed to represent the Yam Suf, the going down in the middle.
The two stripes are meant, the top one is the heavens, the bottom one is the sea, and that's why it's the Techelet with the Magen David in there. You can see it on Avril's background there. She's got a lovely flag there behind her.
I was told it's going through the Yam Suf, that's why.
Yeah, that's another symbolism of it. It certainly works. So let's just go and carry on and finish by talking about the rest of the paragraph. So we've established why tzitzit is so important, because it is a symbolic mitzvah that we do because we want to do it, not because we have to do it. We wrap ourselves round with our talit gadol to demonstrate that we are wrapping ourselves with the whole of the 613 mitzvot, with our gematria, if you like that gematria. And then the pasuk says this: V'lo taturu acharei levavchem. If you do this and you wear your tzitzit, you will not stray after your heart, v'acharei einechem, and after your eyes, asher atem zonim achareim, which you are straying after. Okay. Now, what does straying after your heart mean? What's that referring to? Avodah zarah. That's referring. Straying after your heart is idol worship, going off to other gods. Now we have a bit of a difficulty with idol worship, because we all think people who bow down to idols are silly, because everybody knows that an idol is an idol and it's stupid, and that's why it's but the idol worship, as it were, the type of religions that they had back in the day, was very seductive. We have a different type of idol worship today. Some people worship pop stars, some people worship sports stars, some people worship money, some people worship covered, whatever it is, your particular thing. We all have a particular avodah zorah that we have a problem with. So that's acharei levavchem, what your heart desires. What is do not stray after your eyes? What's that referring to?
Looking at things you shouldn't look at.
Immorality, yeah, stuff you shouldn't be looking at, like other women and leching. You shouldn't be look. That's what being a lecherous. You heard that word in English? Lecherous. A lecherous person is somebody who is looking at people with sexual motivation. Okay, so this is talking about
Rabbi would say it's treif. Rabbi Bolkin, you say it's treif. It's treif.
Yeah, looking at treif for stuff. Yeah. So now, how are tzitzit going to stop you from straying after your hearts with avodah zorah and straying after your eyes, doing and looking at things you shouldn't be looking at?
Because you're looking at your tzitzis, they're reminding you. That's the whole idea of them.
Right. So exactly. So yeah, you said the kippah as well. What is the tzitzit? It is the garment of the Jew. Okay, the kippah is the garment of the Orthodox Jew. Tefillin. Back in the day, many people wore tefillin all day long. Okay, we take them off after a davening because why? Because we're doing stuff that you shouldn't be doing with your tefillin on, like going to work and working in the fields and all that stuff. But those are going to war. So those people back in the day, the rabbis who went from the Beit Knesset to the Beit Midrash, they kept their tefillin on all day long, right? Because there's no reason to take them off. We only take them off, not because we're finished with them, but because we can't wear them. It's not right to wear them when you're doing things that aren't appropriate. So when you wear your tzitzit, okay, imagine this scenario. We'll do the acharei levavchem first, right? You go in, you decide you're going to go, you've got a yetzer hara to go into the Singh temple. Anybody ever been into a Sikh temple? I've been into a Sikh temple. I'm not sure I should have gone actually. But I went in because I'm not sure. I don't know whether I should have gone on it. I went. I probably shouldn't have gone. Anyway, I went because
then Cheetham Hill.
I went because my computer technician back in Manchester had been my computer technician since 1993. So that's a long time. He still looks after my computers now. He is a Gantha Knacker in the Sikh temple, right? Got nice turban on, and he's called Singh. He's called Bobby Singh. That's not really his real name, but we know him as Bobby Singh, right? Bobby Singh is the gabbai of the shul there in there, the gabbai of the temple. They made a brand new opening, and he really desperately wanted me to go. Anyway, I went. Okay, I didn't have a yetzer hara to do anything there, but get involved. It was very impressive, actually, what they do there. Their whole chesed setup is unbelievable. That's for another day. Anyway, let's say I really, got into this whole thing, and I decided that I was going to have a go at this avodah zorah while I was there. But if you have a go at the avodah zorah there, you have to wear special clothing. So I take off my shirt, and what do I see? Tzitzit. And it's going to remind me, isn't it? It's going to remind me that I'm not in the right place. I'm a Jew. I've got tzitzit. I've got 613 mitzvahs of my own. I don't need any of theirs. Okay. So it's the symbol of the Jew. The kippah is the same thing. You're a person wearing a kippah is going to think twice about going into a treifa restaurant, right? Because he's wearing a kippah. How can you go into a kippah? You're going to take your kippah off when you're going to a treifa restaurant, right? Why do you do that? Because it's there to remind you not to do it. So you don't take your kippah off, you won't go in the treifa restaurant. That's the idea of acharei levavchem. What about acharei neichem? It's the same thing. The same thing, right? Why shouldn't you stray with your eyes? There's an expression, you can look, but you can't touch, right? But the problem is, then once you start looking, it leads to touching, right? So what happens is you end up there, you take your clothes off, and what do you find? Tzitzit, oy vey, you put them back on again, and you run out. Okay. Correct. Exactly that. So the tzitzit is there to remind you. We wrap ourselves around with the mitzvah. It says, if you have this on, it will be a guard for you. Okay, because you will. Right, we're all human beings. You will stray. This is a help not to stray. And then what will happen? Lama and tizkru, in order that you will remember, you'll say, oh, tzitzit. I remember I'm a Jew, can't be doing these things. You will then go and do my mitzvot, and not all their rubbish. And you will be holy to your God. And then we come to the important bit that Yochanan told us about. Because you are my people. I took you out of Mitzrayim. You are Meshi'ubad to me and to nobody else. It's my mitzvah. So you can see now, Jeff, how the thing builds up. Your tzitzit are important. They are a fundamental mitzvah because you wrap yourself around with them. They surround you. You love the mitzvah so much that you wear it even though you don't have to. And it is a protection for you against straying in places where you shouldn't stray. That will lead you to do the mitzvot of Hashem. And why should you do the mitzvot of Hashem? Because Hashem said to Techelet, because I took you out of Mitzrayim. Yes? Correct. That's where it all started. You came out of Mitzrayim, right? So the first come, Ani Adonai Elechem, Hashem tzeti etchem Mitzrayim. Hashem tzeticha Mitzrayim. Yeah, I've taken you out of it. That's how the Ten Commandments start. Correct. That's the beginning of everything. So that's why we have to mention Yetziat Mitzrayim twice a day. You might think, we're obsessed with Yetziat Mitzrayim in our people. Okay, we got taken out of Egypt. Big deal. It was 3,500 years ago. Move on already. No, because that was the fundamental start of everything. Without that, nothing else happens, right? Everything else comes from that. It's no good trying to learn quantum physics until you know a little bit of maths. Okay, you've got to be able to add up and do your times table before you start doing trigonometry, and then you move on to everything else. Everything is built up. You start from the beginning. Yetziat Mitzrayim, which we are obsessed with. We are obsessed with it. We mention it in Kiddush. We mention it twice a day here in here. We mention it we have a whole Seder night of it all. 7 days of Pesach, all because of Yetziat Mitzrayim. Yetziat Mitzrayim, Yetziat Mitzrayim. Why? Because it's the beginning of everything. So tzitzit is connected here with the fundamentals. So our original question was, why is this third paragraph? It doesn't seem to fit. Actually, it fits beautifully because you start with a declaration of faith, Shema Yisrael. You then move on to the national idea of reward and punishment, and you then go on to the practicality. How am I, as a human being, as a Jew, going to live my life? How am I going to do it in the proper way, whereby I demonstrate that faith of Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad? The distilled single way to do it is via the mitzvah of tzitzit, which will lead you to Yetziat Mitzrayim and the belief in Yetziat Mitzrayim. And there we have the 3 paragraphs of Shema, the fundamentals of Judaism.
Would you say that tzitzits are more important, or as important, or less important than tefillin?
Okay, well, I would say they are as important as tefillin, because tefillin are mentioned in the Shema, the first 2 paragraphs, and tzitzit is mentioned in the third. I would say for me, they're on a par. Yeah. Yes, Jeff. Okay, so Jeff's question is, what about women? How do they feel when they say the paragraph of Shema, which they say twice a day, 3 times a day? Some, if you say when you go to bed at night. How do they feel about not having tzitzit? Well, Avril, how do you feel about not wearing tzitzit?
You might wear them.
Doesn't bother me.
It doesn't bother you. Why doesn't it bother you?
Never really thought about it.
Okay. Susie, does it bother you that you don't wear tzitzit? Why not?
Even better without.
Okay. So it's a fair question. Probably the stock answer is that women, well, the practical answer, of course, is that it's a mitzvah which is time oriented. It's only during the daytime. Therefore, technically, they are patur. They are exempt. Doesn't mean they can't wear it.
We could wear it if we wanted.
Yeah, you can wear. A woman can wear tzitzit, and a woman can wear a talit. Machloket, whether they should say a bracha on it or not. Some opinions say they can. Some opinions say they shouldn't, and we're not going to go into the halachic ins and outs of that. It doesn't matter right at the moment. The point is that women can. Now, the difficulty we have today is, and this is part of the difficulty, by the way, of Techelet as well, and I'll come back to it in a second, remind me. The difficulty we have today with women wearing a talit, and particularly a talit, not so much tzitzit. I have no idea how many women wear tzitzit underneath their dresses. Maybe loads of them, I have no idea. But the wearing of a talit by a woman has been hijacked today by the feminist organizations. Okay, the Jewish feminists have hijacked the wearing of a talit, and it has become a symbol of their fight for equality. Now, I have a problem with that. And it's the same as we had the same argument about the in Simchat Torah, of dancing with the Sefer Torah. If a woman wants to wear a talit because she feels that by enveloping herself in a talit, she is closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and she feels that that is a spiritual thing for her, gesundheit, as they say.
With or without the bracha?
That's a halachic question. You can argue it both ways. I'm not going to give you my opinion because it's irrelevant what I think on that particular point anyway. But I have no problem with that. However, if a woman is wearing a talit to say, hey, look at me, I'm a woman and I'm wearing a talit because I can, and you're not going to stop me because I'm a woman, then that has been, you have politicized the mitzvah, and I do have a problem with that. So it all boils down to kavanah. And unfortunately, the wearing of a talit for a woman has become politicized. Now, if you go back to the Techelet idea, unfortunately, the wearing of Techelet has become somewhat politicized as well, because the first people to start wearing Techelet were the hardcore Zionists of the middle of the 20th century, the settlers, and it became, not so much now, because you'll see loads and loads of people now who are not settlers wear Techelet, but in the beginning of the resurgence of wearing Techelet, it was the movement of wearing Techelet was begun and was pushed forward by the settler movement, and it became a little bit of a politicized thing. And again, I would say, if you are wearing Techelet to say, look at me, I'm a settler, then I think you're wrong. I think that's not a way to use Techelet.
They wouldn't do that.
If you're using Techelet to say, the way I have explained it to you, that this is an opportunity that we now have that we didn't have before, then that's a very different thing. So again, it's all about kavanah. It's all about the intention, how you're performing the mitzvah. People who perform mitzvot for the wrong reason can actually do a lot more damage than not doing the mitzvah at all.
The key part is a.
So Jeff has said, one sec, Johnny. Jeff has said, well, men need it more than women. Again, I think that is something which is very often said. If you want my personal opinion on that, I don't buy it. I think that's a sop. I think that's us men saying to women, oh, you know, we need it more than you because you're so much. And we don't really believe that. So personally, I don't buy it. Of course, it's a very popular thing, You know, and if it does it for you, gesundheit. For me, I think it's a cop-out answer. Yes, Johnny.
I said the kippah is also a political statement. And this
Well,
is the black one and
no question
velvet
about
one.
it. Not the wearing of a kippah itself, but the type of kippah you wear is definitely a political statement. You know, I think I've told you the story before. I'll repeat it very quickly, just before we finish. When I used to wear a black velvet cap back in the day, when in my Haredi days, I used to wear a black velvet cap, part of their uniform, right? Part of my uniform. When I used to wear a black hat as well. Anyway, after I made Aliyah and I started to wear a kippah struga like this, that was seen as by some people as a very retrograde step. You know, I've gone off the derech because I've gone off the velvet cap. Anyway, I went back to Manchester one time to work, and I was on my own, and I got up late, and I'm running around, and I couldn't find my kippah. I'd taken it off, put it on my bedside table, and it had obviously fallen down the side, and I was rushing, and I couldn't find it. I picked up the nearest capel that I could find, which was a black velvet one, which my son had left last time he was in the house, in the flat where we were staying. And I didn't think anything of it, stuck it on my head, and off I went to work. I was in the pharmacy next door to my my surgery, waiting to get some medication, and this guy comes up to me and he puts his arm around me and he says, "Welcome home." I said, "Oh, thank you very much. I'm just here for a week, you know, I'm only here." He says, "No, welcome home," because I had my black velvet capel on. So yeah, you're absolutely right. The capel is a political statement. The kippah struga is a political statement. I remember when I was a kid, if you had a kippah struga, it was one thing. If you wore it on the side of your head like that, then you were a proper B'nai Akivanik, you know. And if you wore it like that and you had a dubon, then, you know, you were the real, Yeah. And then you've got the little, you know, the ones that you've got the fold in the middle because they've only ever take it out. Anyway, never mind. Okay, it's time, long past my bedtime.
Johnny had a kippah some Talia bought for him when she was in Them. Half was velvet, the other half was kippah struga, and it said, "I love all Jews."
Yeah, and unfortunately it doesn't work because you try and please everybody, you end up pleasing nobody. But you're right. Yeah, I've seen those. Okay. I don't think it's hidur. I think it's basic mitzvah. It says so in the Torah. Vakanov to pitil techelet. How much more straightforward do you want than that? Pitil techelet. Today, I don't get it. I don't understand why anybody wouldn't. I do understand there are reasons why people don't, but I don't think that the reasons for not are really political reasons, dressed up in other ways, in my humble opinion.
Rabbi Dr. Lieberman?
Yes, Liran.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I have a book. I have a few different books that I give lessons on, and I wanted just to say, I've sent you also in your WhatsApp, that the 32 strands, that the 32 parts of Chochmah, that's basically regarding the tzitzit. We have 32 parts of Chochmah. Chochmah is the attribute that enables the encompassing light to break through and enter the realm of the tzitzit. Are equivalent to
what's the connection with 32?
The strands, the 32 strands.
Yeah, what's the connection with Chochmah?
There's 32 parts of Chochmah. That's what it says in the book.
Ah, okay. So that sounds a bit Kabbalistic, that, Liran. It's a bit beyond my simple brain. You'll have to explain it to me.
And tzitzit is from the term tzitz, which means to look, also to emerge. That it means that the ability to perceive that aura of Hashem, whatever it means.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Okay,
everybody, time to go. Johnny, please be safe.
Johnny,
yes, Philip.
Johnny, I have to speak to you a second, so I'll call you in a second. Okay,
very good.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you, Johnny.
Mr.